and welcome everybody to the World Fitness and Wellness Online Summit Online and Digital Excellence panel. My name is Sarah and I head up the events at Fit Summit, and fortunately or unfortunately will also be your moderator for today. Today we are joined by 5 amazing gentlemen: Sean, Christian, Francesco, Fahad and Daniel, from various different backgrounds, but all united when it comes to the fitness tech space. I'm going to waste no time and allow them to start their own introduction. So let's start with our very good friend, Sean, first. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, everyone. I'm Sean Tan. So I'm chairman of the board and director of True Group. We're a big box gym chain, and we've got 24 gyms across Singapore and Taiwan. So we've got 10 in Singapore and we've got 14 in Taiwan under the brands of True Fitness, TFX and Yoga Edition. Yeah.
So much, Sean. Next, let's move on to Christian. Hi, Christian.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me today. So my name's Christian Mason. I'm the Global Fitness Experience Director for Virgin Active and also the Country Director for Thailand. Been with Virgin Active for over 14 years now, operating in a few different markets, the UK, Australia, and more recently now in Southeast Asia. Virgin Active is a large holistic brand offering. We've got over 200 clubs globally across 7 to 8 markets. And yeah, we're excited to be here to talk about the evolution and development of our industry.
Thank you, Christian. Now let's move on to Daniel.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, as we already mentioned, I'm in nice chilly Melbourne at the moment. I'm the general manager for Asia Pacific for Wexer. We've just opened up our office in the region, as we definitely see it as a growth area. Wexer provide digital fitness solutions for physical locations to extend their offering outside those locations. So we're in over 4,000 locations at the moment, but extending that digitally and outside the clubs, hotels, apartments, and other businesses. So looking forward to having a chat with everyone.
Thank you, Daniel. Let's now move on to Francesco.
Hi, Sarah. Well, my name is Francesco Arlotti. I'm the head of digital solutions for Technogym. Joined Technogym 14 years ago. My job actually is to coordinate globally the network of digital specialists that are in charge for listening to customers and shape digital solutions that are meaningful for them.
Okay, thank you, Francesco. Let's now move on to Fahad.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, for having me. My name is Fahad Alhagbani from Saudi Arabia. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Armah Sports. We are on the verge to start a new chain of fitness clubs, and we want to do the smart clubs, which depends heavily on technology. In the past, we did fitness time in Saudi with 150 clubs, and after taking this company to IPO a couple of years ago, we decided to move on and start the new venture. We also have the partnership with Vulnerable out of the UK to expand the brand to the Middle East.
Thank you, Fahad. Thank you, everybody, for this short and brief introduction. We will be attaching all their LinkedIn profiles in the chat tab for all of you to get to know them even more. So now let's dive straight into the first question, which I am directing towards everybody. Okay, I would love to get your insights on what's happening in the digital experience space. So first question, how do you think operators have evolved to build out their digital experiences in 2020? Francesco, you can go first. Sorry, Francesco, I think you've muted yourself.
Well, surely we have observed a big acceleration that probably has further highlighted the 2 different approaches that have been utilized for adopting digital. So we can imagine like the normal curve, and what I'm describing are the 2 areas that are at the edge of it. So from one side, internal development, which ended up in very big investments, sometimes with low return for creating the platform, but especially this has a very big challenge, not when it comes to developing the platform, but when it is about evolving it. On the very other side, there is what we call the cherry picking strategy. So I tend to buy so many different digital platforms, and then I try to aggregate all of this relying on integration, and this sometimes end up in frictions and fragmentation. So what we have seen is that this is the time features are not the real issue. We are always obsessed by features, but if you compare an iPhone with a very low-end smartphone, and you do a feature-by-feature comparison, they seem to be very similar. So then it's not clear why one is priced 4 times bigger than the other one, because the experience is different and it is seamless. So when it is about digital, what we have seen as being one of the core elements is time, scalability, and evolvability. This is everything.
Sorry, Francesco, I'm just going to interrupt you just a bit so that you can speak closer to your speaker, because we're getting a lot of feedback. Yeah.
Okay. Time, scalability, and evolvability actually are the keywords. And from this point of view, we always try to offer to operators a modular and highly configurable platform that allow operators to design an online and on-site journey, put the content in it, and go out very quickly. And especially, what is important is having a future-proof concept. We tend to secure that by leveraging the feedback of over 100 countries, and of course, the investment in research and development that is needed to transform all this feedback in something that evolves over time. Last, we have seen over the last 3-4 months, we have seen very good examples of operators that were already using our digital platform, that were able to keep rapport with customers wherever customers were, and reducing significantly the amount of credit back requests. On the other side, we see with a little bit of concern the activities of making available a lot of online content for free on social media, because there is a big risk of commoditizing the service, which is one of the most precious things that we have.
Thank you so much for your insights, Francesco. I will pose the same question to Fahad. Let me repeat myself on how do you think operators have evolved to build out their digital experiences in 2020?
Okay, as everybody knows, I mean, this pandemic happened overnight. So it left all the operators to react very fast and to start offering online classes. And to be honest, it wasn't up to the expectation. I mean, the classes quality was disappointing sometimes in terms of content and location, programming, and different factors. Only few operators managed to pull this through, while others evolved and improved throughout the pandemic. I mean, when this pandemic happened, a lot of operators wanted to do something rather than something good. And the quality was hit and miss. But as the lockdown extended, the audience expectation evolved, and the smart operators really improved their quality, improved the location, improved the quality of the trainers that they put in front of the camera. As the lockdown was finished and the clubs reopened, we can see that most of the online classes quality was improved and was up to the expectation, and the smart operators really blended this kind of online offering into their original products.
That's very true, what you said. I think before this COVID period started and the lockdowns were just being imposed, everyone was just basically struggling to do something because they couldn't run their functional gyms. And then, like what you mentioned, it was definitely a hit or miss. So thank you so much for your insights. Sean, what do you think? How do you think the operators have evolved to build their digital experiences, especially for TFX?
Yeah, well, I'll share the experience that we had in True Group. What COVID has done, it has accelerated our digital strategy, our plan. And not only accelerated it, but it actually forced us to reformulate the plan. Let me elaborate what I mean by reformulation, right? So we've always, and like many operators, we've always had a digital strategy. So, but I think we had for us, it was stretched out over a longer period of time. We didn't think that we would have to bring it to the fore quite so soon. That's number one. But the other thing is, the digital strategy for us was, I think, one where we had always sort of envisaged a hybrid kind of a situation. Our physical clubs would still be open, but we'd have some sort of online offerings. But COVID brought everything to the fore. It was a great challenge. We had to rethink it and have a digital strategy for a situation where our physical clubs could not be open. So it was going to be purely online digital strategy. What would that look like? And that presented problems and difficulties, as most of our operators' friends, will attest to, because we did not have studios to film the content in. We didn't have the proper cameras. The production quality was poor. But all in, I think we sort of pulled through. Most of us have gone through the first lockdown. Some are into the second lockdown. Some are living with the concern that we may go back into a lockdown. But for us, I think it's very clear that the digital strategy is here to stay. It's going to be part of the offerings. It's going to be a hybrid, but we're going to build up, and we have built up our strategies such that in the event, touch wood, we ever go into a lockdown situation again, we know that the digital will still be able to survive. I think the main focus for us in doing everything digitally was not so much on the revenue, to be honest. It was more for engagement. Of course, we had hoped that we would be able to bring in and supplement our revenue with the digital online offering, but we soon learned that that was not to be the case, and we have used it quite successfully for engagement of our members throughout this period.
That's great news. I think that's what everybody wants ultimately, right? To have a hybrid model, or basically to have a sustainable digital fitness model in the long run. I think I would pose this question to Kristen as well. As a big box gym, Virgin Active, how do you think the digital experiences have evolved through 2020?
Yeah, well, I'd echo everyone else's comments, in particular that the word that springs to mind for me is fast. Everyone went fast, because need is the mother of invention. And what I suppose what was left out by that is the piece around quality. And I think that's what will set the winners out from the losers in the future, is the intent and the purpose of that digital needs to add value to the customer experience and also the opportunity to unlock new customers. And we took the view to keep our digital solution behind the gateway for our members. So really chose that direction of customer loyalty and keeping that community and trying to keep that engagement during the pandemic. And obviously now, as Sean quite rightly points, it becomes a hybrid in terms of how do the two coexist to complement each other.
That's great. Thanks for wrapping it up. And like what you mentioned, fast, having to accelerate our digital initiatives, that was right from your side. Daniel, from a tech person's point of view, how do you think such experiences have changed?
Yeah, I think that definitely we saw over the last 5 years when we've been working with different partners and operators on the digital programming, it was a more probably considered longer time frame approach. And I think that acceleration and speed that everyone talked about is really where I've seen the evolution. And I think the willingness to make decisions a little faster. And with technology, the great thing is that, you can learn quite quickly and change things as you go a little bit more than perhaps you can when you're moving a club chain of 100 or 200 sites and you change one operational thing. There's a lot more moving parts and pieces. So I think the speed at which everyone's really changed has probably been the biggest evolution I've seen from our operator partners. But I definitely think that hybrid model that we're talking about, actually taking that from a concept into reality. We had some partners doing it prior who were really well set up for things that have happened, or as well set up as you can be. But trying to figure out what that looks like beyond lockdown periods and those sorts of things is where it is now. And I think to what Francesco and Fahad said about and Sean about the quality, and not just producing content for the sake of producing content, but actually producing it as part of that member experience and executing that along the member journey to create a long-term member, whether that's inside or outside the facility.
You're right. I think one of the few key words that I've picked up from the first question is that reformulation, fast, hybrid models, accelerated digital phase, and quality. That's how operators have evolved to build out the digital experiences in 2020. So thank you so much, everybody, for answering the first question. Moving on to my next question, which will be much more targeted. So my next question is directed towards Christian, Sean, and Fahad. If you could name and elaborate, what are the 3 key challenges that operators are still having to overcome as they build out and integrate online or virtual into their business? I would pose this question first to Christian.
Sure. Well, I think it segues in from the last question. It's been that pace of change is without doubt probably the biggest challenge, because given the opportunity and doing things properly allows you to be very design-led through customer insight, and that's obviously not been the reality in the last couple of months for sure. So and overlaying that is the complication that the consumer is also going through change. I think there's some positives to the fact a lot of people introduced to digital consumption, which they may not have ever tried before, but the pandemic forced them to do that, which is a positive. So that hopefully opens the market. But at the same time, understanding what they want, their music quality, and the execution becomes important, because ultimately there's a lot of moving parts when you're delivering a production through video content. You're notwithstanding the technical pieces, it's also, is that person camera savvy and going to be the right engaging person, because we all know what we get from the human-to-human contact in club in the physical environment. So these are big challenges to face, and everyone needs to learn them. And I think the risk is if you don't get it right, you don't get that compelling solution. And as much as people say content is king, I think the panel's already mentioned this, the quality for me and the relevance is what becomes important. And unless you're meeting those needs, then you're going to struggle.
Understand that getting customers' insights and picking up customer trends, being tech savvy, and content is king, but quality is king as well. So you wrapped it up pretty well. Next, let's move on to Sean. What do you think are the 3 key challenges that operators have to overcome as they integrate or have these hybrid models?
I'm going to be a little bit controversial here, Sarah, because I know we've got Daniel on the panel from Wexer, and they do fantastic content. The quality is fantastic. Fahad, for Technogym, all the quality is great, and Christian spoke about this too. What we faced as a challenge was speed, and of course getting the quality out there. But we also realized that for members, for our members in particular, for them, it was interesting. Let me just share with you what we found. During the period of lockdown, when there was a lot of free content being offered by everybody, from Chris Hemsworth to Chloe Ting, and we were offering content of our own, members was forced to choice. And everybody was offering free content, and we're fighting no longer on geography of our clubs, but with the rest of the world, and the biggest and the best. And we were losing that battle. But we found that with very cheap and authentic, and the word I use is authentic, with authentic content using a simple platform like Zoom, when we started to reopen our gyms and we were able to Zoom content of live classes, and even before that, during lockdown, where we were able to Zoom live classes, and our instructors, with whom our members were familiar, were able to relate to the members, we then saw membership just go through the roof. In comparison with pre-recorded content, in comparison with content that we'd gotten from elsewhere. So for us, it was not so much the quality. We struggled with that, but we realized that what members were craving for was something authentic. I'll speak a little bit more about this later. But for us, it was the speed. It was the how to deliver authentic content, and the third point is the challenge, and we still struggle with that. How do we make money off of it? I think we are quite resigned at the moment that we're not going to be able to charge anything significant for digital online content. We'll probably have to bundle it as we have now, with our memberships, and that's something which members have come to I think expect, and we're quite happy that we're delivering it.
I guess so for you, Sean, what you're mentioning is that for you, the biggest challenge was not basically the digital content or it being basically accessible, it not being visible, but the fact that there is a missing touch point between the instructor and the member, and the fact that there was endless solutions online when basically the circuit breaker or COVID started. So for you, it was mainly the missing link point, and when you figured it out, it actually worked for you.
Yeah, trial and error.
Yeah, you could say it's a trial and error. What are your thoughts about this, Fahad?
Actually, there are really three main challenges. The first one would be the availability of the IT backbone to support such integration, because our industry still lacks the understanding of how technology is important for the future of our sector. The second one will be about the financial impact and financial crunches that operators had to go through due to the one or multiple lockdowns, as Sean mentioned. And it's gonna make it very difficult for some of them to invest in technology. Some operators around the world, they filed for bankruptcy, as we know. So the difficulty of the financial situation of some operators will make it a big challenge for them. The other one really is to find the right balance between in-person experience and the digital experience. And the operators need to understand that digital experience is complementary for the offering. You need to find the balance here, because over-investing in digital will make you lose your core audience, and the same will happen if you don't invest at all. So the balance again is a key, and if you push too much in over-invest into the digital platforms, then your competitive landscape will change for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think one of the points that we're going to talk about later is actually over investing on digital landscapes, which we will basically touch on later, because how much is too much? Where do we draw the line? Where do we set the boundaries? I think Daniel and Francesco will have a very good answer for that, but we'll check on that later. But thank you so much, guys, for actually answering the question. We move on to our next question, which is a bit more, I would say, technical, because it's about the amount of engagement, ROI, and success rate. So we're going to ask the tech guys, Francesco and Daniel, in your experience, what content and platform have saw the most amount of engagement, success, and ROI, and its demand has now peaked? You can talk about your own products, or you can talk about the products in the market as well. Maybe let's move on to Francesco first.
Yeah, I'm taking speak for what I know very well, which is the product that, of course, we are proposing. And I would like to, let's say, share some insights we have seen from my wellness cloud that are based on 15,000 facilities and 15 million users that we have today in the platform. First of all, there is a good element that the usage of the platform went up. Although the composition of this usage is completely different. While before was entirely dominated by, let's say, the indoor experience, the connected experience in the center, now we have seen a big shift in the consumer behavior. And so the features that we have seen became more and more popular are, well, first of all, everything that is around the booking. This has been completely transformed. I mean, booking is booming. Because before it was just booking a class. Now it is actually booking a training spot, even at the gym floor. And we have seen that there has been a major difference between the operators that were able to offer this in the way they can reassure customers to go back and have a safe training. So booking is surely one category. And then, of course, all the online training, live classes and on-demand classes streamed directly in the app or in the TV. This has been something that went up. Workout of the day. I mean, fresh menu of a daily workout, including body weight, including small accessories, including whatever. We have seen that has grown a lot in popularity. And finally, even outdoor tracking. I mean, it's a consequence of the fact that in some cases that was also the only option, but it's always an option for people. And so possibility to record the workout directly from the app or using the third-party devices or applications. Then I would mention two specific things. One for hotels. I think that hotels and residential are really investing in in-room training programs, combining, for example, smart equipment like a Technogym bike or accessories. We have recently introduced Technogym cases, or in any case, other accessories, but blended with the programs that can be done in room. And for the corporate as well, I mean, the big amount of corporates that have been doing smart working, remote working, the digital component became also for a corporate a must-have in order to keep them engaged and active.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Francesco. Daniel, if I were to pose you the same question, and based on what Francesco shared, do you agree? Do you disagree?
Yeah, no, look, I agree with the majority of that. I think also to even go back to what Sean was saying earlier about the quality of the content and the importance of that authentic person that you're engaging with. I think it's important that when you're looking at a platform, you've got the option for both, but it's in your brand. You own the content, you own the data, all those sorts of things. I think that's a really important thing for clubs to consider on the other side of this. And you can make it yourself, and you can go down that path. But sometimes, the information's out there that most of the time you can make a treadmill yourself or do all these other things. But realistically, it's how you execute it. And so I think that's where clubs can look at and see what's out there and leverage different platforms. From a platform perspective, I think you're asking about who's seeing the most engagement. I think from an engagement perspective, we found early on that social media platforms are probably seeing a lot of the engagement. But as we've sort of already discussed, and one of the things we've been working on our partners is how do we actually get those people from free into now onto our paid platform and part of our membership. I think one of the key things you can do there is leverage what Sean was saying about showing your trainer and your person, but then maybe it's only one session a week is available for free online, and then bringing the class on demand, or bringing the majority of their live classes behind your paywall with we have a Physical Connect where that's exactly what it does. And then you keep value with more highly produced content that's also available there and relevant. But again, all still branded for that facility. I think that's really important, that it's got to still be your ecosystem. Doesn't mean you have to build it all, but it's got to be your ecosystem. And I think that's where the best content sits. From like a bit more detail around what content we're seeing work. If you're wondering whether you should film for 10 minutes or an hour, we're seeing 20 is the most popular. And then after that, it's 10 to 20 or 11 to 20 as we do it. And so I think people are sort of looking at these bite-sized components. Sometimes they'll combine one or two of them together. So just a bit more specificity around sort of what content's been popular. And then the return on investment, I still think the best way to do it is to show your members the relevant content for them. So the best story, I was trying to think of sort of some of the examples we've got at the moment. And the best story I've heard, or anecdote I've heard, is one of our partners who went back and looked at who had booked a yoga class over the last few months, and they sent them all a link to a specific yoga class within their web-based solution, so they can watch it wherever they are, but it's relevant to those people because they're interested in yoga. And I think that that's a real key to content, and that's why I also think demand has peaked. I think that was the last component of the question, was has demand peaked? And I don't think so. I don't think it's going to accelerate the same way that it obviously did, but I think that the amount of investment people have put into their gyms at home and how comfortable they've become with the convenience of doing a workout at home, I think it now comes to us as operators to provide them that solution when they can't make it into the gym, and to give them as best experience as we can. When they can't train with Christian, they can still at least have Christian at home.
I think thank you so much for your answer, Daniel. I think one of the concerns that you and Francesco both raised was the fact that we are transitioning from giving free content to being paid, to actually charging for the online content that we are actually providing. Do you see this landscape changing? Do you see more people leaning towards more paid content, or are they still going to be offering free content until the world heals? Like, I would pose this question to maybe Daniel. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think that people will pay for valuable content. I think that there's value to it, right? And so it's making sure that it's relevant and it's good quality. And you know, there's always been YouTube. You've always been able to you know, download a bootleg movie, but when Apple or other companies out there like Netflix make the experience better and have great quality as part of that experience, or connect with you, it doesn't even have to be the greatest quality. As Sean said, we can have a Zoom meeting. My mum does Zoom Pilates with her Pilates instructor. It's not the highest quality, but it's relevant and it's meaningful to that person. So I think that, you know, we definitely can charge for it, but we have to be smart in how we execute the experience for the user.
Thank you. Thank you so much for answering the question. I'll take the question from the panel right now. Liz has posted a question on research shows that people value digital content more when they get a great workout with perceived monetary value linked to heart rate and work output. So what are your thoughts about this? Sean, maybe you can go first.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I've seen research that says that, but at the same time, we have a lot of home or digital workouts where are not heart-based rate. I mean, we use MyZone in our clubs. We've got Fitbits everywhere, you know. But whilst that may appeal to some, I think there's a lot of others where there are workouts and online workouts which are not linked to any sort of a heart rate measurement that do very well as well. I'll stick to my point, which is as long as the workout is authentic and relevant that they can relate to, I think it's something which can do very well.
Okay. How about you, Christian? And I'll move on the same question to Francesco. I would love to hear from you. Christian, maybe you can answer the question.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what we've seen on our global platform through our classes that we have been able to share across our markets is there's a whole range. Yes, our high intensity program Grid is a very popular and up in the top sort of indexing program, but we've also got a lot of Pilates coming through and yoga. And I think it just comes back to this piece, to what Daniel mentioned. It's the duration and length that is important, the convenience factor of when am I going to do it. I term the phrase, it's the back pocket workout. Everyone has that intent to go 3-4 times a week. They never quite achieve it. But that opportunity to do it on a Saturday morning or in the hotel room or when your day's gone too long, that's where this pops in. And that's where the value will then be perceived. If the quality of what's being delivered meets the customer's needs, then they'll be willing to pay for it.
Okay, great. How about you, Francesco? What do you think? What do you think? Like, when do you think research shows that people value digital content more when they get a great workout, when it's basically connected to something like a heart rate or work output? What are your thoughts about it?
Will make the difference is flexibility. The reality is that the people are not all the same, and actually, if you go to see the people that want to use an heart rate device or another device, is still a small part of the population. So I think we need to find solutions that apply to different types of people. For sure, we see that timing is a key element. We tend to sometimes overestimate the amount of time that people want to invest in workout, and sometimes something can be a great way to engage. And also, what is going to be important is that if I'm at the other side, so simplicity for the, I'll give you the example of our GPS application. I mean, we have developed a GPS application and we put it in the My Wellness app. And this might be something strange, no? Isn't it? Why are you doing that? There are so many GPS providers over there. So are you trying to compete with them? No, we don't. But we wanted to offer a super simple solution to my mom that surely doesn't want to buy a Garmin, doesn't want to create an account and link it to somewhere else. The other opposite, we have the Garmin user, the Polar user, the person that is already using this type of devices that want to just go on using it. And that's the reason why, in that case, we have developed integrations for them. So I think in the future, it will be really about having the flexibility to accommodate the needs that are inevitably different from people.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope we've answered your question, Liz. Now let's move on to our next question. The next question will be basically to the floor. With the surge in online fitness classes and with the trends, consumer trends changing so soon, how has consumer behavior or consumption influenced your mid to long-term digital investment strategy? I would like to pose this question to Fahad first.
Okay. We have learned from past experiences that members, they like clean clubs, and they stay away as much as they can from virtual interaction, because as we said, you can't replicate the real life experience. But we've been watching the market for the last 6 months, and we've been watching different markets internationally reacting to this pandemic in very different ways. It depends on members' behavior, the culture, the market dynamics. But generally speaking, members now, they know how to protect themselves from a spreading virus by staying healthy and fit to boost their immunity, and also making sure that their clubs comply with the regulations and with the government requirements. So we are focusing on both dimensions, as well as building our digital presence. Both dynamic digital strategy for us has changed and has evolved. So we have refined and defined our digital offering. But as we said before, this is a complementary to the real life experience or to the core business. And we are still loyal to our strategy, which is building great clubs. We strongly believe that you can't replicate the real life experience.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. I'll pose a question to Daniel. Being in the tech field all the time, how have you actually revamped, or how are you possibly changing your digital strategy or your digital offerings to your clients?
Yeah, for sure. I think what we've had to do is systemize things a little bit better, so to make those custom integrations that have to happen a lot faster, and so to simplify that process as well. So we've spent a lot of time trying to work with partners and then also create new ways people can access the things that we do. So we've got a software development kit that we've been improving just to make it easy to, within your existing app, you can just pull our content out. And I think that's a couple of the really key things as you move forward with your digital strategy and your digital journey, is thinking, okay, who can I plug into? Where can I plug in? But the user is owned by me. And I think that's really important at the end of the day. So we've been trying to systemize, because everyone wants something different. But what we've been trying to say is, well, these are the things that we think are important. We think that you need to be able to serve relevant content to people, and in your own brand. So that's what we've really focused on, and trying to systemize everything else that goes into providing that. So we have a web-based solution that's really easy to execute and brand, that can be done in a couple of weeks, where it used to take us a couple of months. So I think that those are the kinds of things where we've really had to pick up our game as everyone else is speeding up.
Right. Okay. Same question posted to Francesco. How are you changing things up or upping things so that you can basically cater to the increasing demand right now?
Well, first of all, the original question was also to how the technology and the digital is influencing your strategy. Let's say, as a company, we started with the name Technogym, that literally means technology applied to gym. So let's say this was really the DNA and the name of the company since we started our operation. And actually, if I can say, today it's really popular to talk about the digital, but actually, in 1996, we launched our first software platform, and that to me was the real innovation at that time, because no one was really asking about it. Today, it's much more there. And that created, in any case, the challenge, which is to keep evolving according to the consumer behavior that is changing, is complex. Today, technology is changing people's lives. Today, we pay with our phone, we get out without an ID, we order a pizza. We train the people to listen to the music. People are pretty accustomed to that. And so we think that we need to take also the evolution of the industry according to this trend. So to tell you where we are investing, as far as the question was also about investing, well, right now we have just introduced in the market the Technogym Live platform, which is nothing more than a platform that wants to aggregate the content that we already have with the content that operators already have, and then make available and distribute this content on all the different touch points, which is not just the mobile or the web. It is also equipment console. It is also the largest screen that we have on a class. And it will be important because it's, from one side, I can access content from the mobile, but can you imagine a world where we are investing on such an amazing experience that I can access mobile when I'm not in the center, and when I go to the center, I still see a completely offline or outdated experience. We don't want this to happen. That's the reason why we have also introduced in these days Excite Live. That is the brand new cardio lines that is actually taking this content from the Technogym Live platform and make it immediately available. In other words, we want to invest on building the online world, but we don't have to forget that there is an on-site experience that has to be upgraded as well. Because being strong on one side and staying weak on the other will not be a good strategy for ourselves.
Okay. Thank you so much, Francesco. I think both of you, both Daniel and you, spoke a lot about your products that you guys are offering. I'm sure our audience that are watching this will be very interested to know about Technogym's products or basically Wexer's products. We have both their booths in our expo, so if you're interested, you can basically hop in our expo after this panel. I would like to pose the same question to the big box gyms like True Fitness and to Virgin Active. So Sean, you can go first. Like, how has the consumer behavior or consumption influenced your mid to long-term digital investment strategies?
Well, I think what we have learned from our consumers is that it's put to rest all that discussion that the gyms after COVID are dead. I mean, there were some articles, I'm sure we've all read them, and they were saying everything's going to move to online. I think we now know that is not true. I've spoken to other operators as well, and we also, from our own experience, have seen that our viewership for all our online offerings sort of plummeted the moment the lockdown ended. It come back up again, and in fact, when we offered Zoom live classes, those numbers have really shot up. But all that has told us is we will continue to invest and put money into digital online. It's not something that we will abandon. We may not put silly money to it. So I won't go, for example, to build up a flash studio so that we can do, top-notch recording all the time. Like I said before, I think very simple live classes using Zoom, that seems to work. I think one thing that consumer behavior or COVID has taught us about online, and this is something which Francesco touched on just now, about bookings. Prior to COVID, the most number of viewerships or people who use our app or our website were those who needed to use group classes, who wanted to do group exercise classes because they had to book a slot. Right? If you were one of those who only goes in to use the equipment, you just walked in. But now, with COVID around, most operators are requiring members to book slots, whether it's for gym time or for group classes. Now, when you think about it, so you have a big group of members who never really used to use the app or the website, and now they are. To me, that signals a huge opportunity, right? Because what does bringing them together and sort of channeling them through an app? If you're booking for all your classes and gym time are through your app, it is a huge opportunity for engagement. And that's where our investment is going to be, to actually look at how we can reinforce, strengthen, buttress what we have in our app offering. So it's not just a booking system. It's where we can give out informative, material to them, whether it's on nutrition, whether it's a kind of home exercise they can do on their own, things that they can use otherwise. And then you can start embedding, videos or live workouts. It could be behind a paywall, as Daniel said, or it could be free. And it's a way, it's a tool for us to use. And to me, I think that is the silver lining of this. It's made everybody overcome a lot of the hurdles of going online. Now everybody knows how to use Zoom. Now everybody's using the app and the website for booking. So that's an opportunity we should not squander.
Yep, that's very true. Thank you so much for raising such an important point. Thank you. I think we had a question from the audience, which I would like Kristen to take. Kristen, they posted this question on, can you share best practices in your current clubs with regards to online platform you have launched amidst the pandemic? So Kristen, maybe you can say a bit about it. You're in mute.
I would never do that.
It happens.
Okay. Look, I mean, ultimately, everyone scrambled and rushed to get some content out there. And without fear of sort of repeating myself, it is about the quality that you deliver and getting it right. But a lot of that's to do with the talent and learning quickly. What we've found from the consumption that we've seen across the globe is very quickly you learn who rocks and who doesn't in terms of how many views they're getting. I mean, we're already reaching nearly 1 million cumulative views and plays of our content that we've had across the globe, which is it's staggering when you think about it. Now, I appreciate a couple of our territories that were still closed and it represent a large chunk of our membership base, but the rich data you get from that is just so compelling in terms of the durations, where the sweet spot is, the genres that are working. So making sure that the platform you've got can give you that insight. Otherwise, you're flying blind. So I think that would be what I'd say would be key. And that's the real benefit of the digital world, is we get to get a bit closer into the sentiment and the behaviors of the member, which we all would love to do in the physical world, which we struggle to get that rich data. We know that most people that leave often say it's because they're moving or they've changed jobs. And the reality is that's not necessarily always the case, because they don't want to tell you about the things that didn't meet their expectations. Whereas with the digital world, I think you get that very clearly and quite transparently.
Okay, thank you so much for answering the question. There's so much of questions coming in from the attendees. I'm not going to touch everything because some of them have already been repeated. So I'm so sorry, guys, if I've missed the question. Moving on to the next question. In your opinion, this is to the floor. In your opinion, do you think online offerings should be priced into standard memberships or as a premium value add-on? We touched a bit about it. So Daniel, maybe you can go first.
Yeah, I think they should be part of the premium membership and not just the lower standard membership. I think they're a great opportunity, especially now with a lot of people working at home. The big box gyms, you probably have less people on that membership that allows access to multiple gyms. So it just gives another reason. It's about convenience, that membership. So it might just be another reason for them to go for that high yielding membership. I think that's a really important point. And then we know we've got the yield that's sort of helping pay for some of the digital investment that's going on. I also think then you can have it as a drop down digital only. So you can show, well, this is what we're valuing this at, and whether it's $10 or $20, whatever you're valuing it at, it can always drop down to that. So if you do have someone leaving and they're moving house, hey, we can still keep training with your favorite instructor until you move back, or while you're traveling, or while you're even on freeze, and it can be a component of that membership. But I don't think it should stop you from still sort of delighting a member by having it as that membership. I think if I usually do yoga every Monday at 6 p.m. and I don't do yoga on Monday at 6 p.m, then at 7 p.m. getting an email with here's a link to your favorite yoga class would be a pretty great experience. And so I don't think that really costs much, and I think that's the kind of things that we can start to look at when it's part of a membership and we're using it in that way.
Okay, based on your experience, Daniel, do you see a lot of your clients actually having it as a premium value add-on, or having it integrated into their standard membership model?
Yeah, we've seen it working best when it's integrated into that platinum level. We have had a few selling standalone completely. It's a tougher sell because you are competing with these digital first products that are out there. That's what they do all day, every day is get people into their funnel and get them a free access and then convert them. And so those third parties are really good at that, but they don't have the insight into what that member already does with us, and they don't have that physical location, which is still really key. I think that you've got to have that digital extension for when you need it, so that they don't go to one of these third parties and stay there. So I think that's really important.
Thank you so much, Daniel. What are your thoughts about this, Fahad?
Well, there is no wrong choice here, really, because either way, there will be like revenue coming through one way or the other. It all depends on how much time you want to invest in this and what kind of quality you want to reach. And the more time that you consume and effort, it will maybe distract you from your core offering. So it really varies from an operator to operator. Some of them might choose to offer it for free, and some they want to charge it or embed it in the normal fees. There is like a lot of competition, as we said, out there in the market, and from market to market, it all depends on the factors and the dynamics on that market. So each operator have to think about their strategy and then to decide whether to charge or not to charge. At the end, it shouldn't be the main focus.
Okay. One of the questions, thank you so much, Fahad, for actually answering those questions. One of the questions that we actually got, which is a bit in sync with what I posed to you guys, was that other than strategizing on online offerings initiative to engage members, there was a question whereby attendee also asked, they're quite interested on how all of us have changed the ways we engage employees through digital platforms, especially in the lack of connection, seeing face to face. So maybe Christian, you can go first on how, considering the fact that Virgin Active is so big and you have so many clubs around the world, how are you basically bridging this gap?
Look, yeah, I mean, in Asia in particular, we're very connected with Line, WhatsApp, and all the different platforms that exist, and we have employee groups on that already, and it's just no different in many other markets, but that's used a lot. We've been on Teams for quite some time, and obviously moving to the virtual world when we were forced to, due to not all being stuck at home, obviously fast-track that to a greater degree. But we also have tools that we're using at a HR level that help us to manage leave and all of the sort of transactional stuff, but also particularly around the ability to give anonymity to sort of staff feedback and doing the cultural driving stuff that you want to do through understanding where's the sentiment of your employee base, which has been helpful because it's way more efficient. You can draw your analysis and insights from it much more easily. So yeah, it's been, that certainly hasn't been something that's been influenced by the 6 months we've been sort of on that journey for some time.
Great. So you're basically slowly building up and you're getting there slowly. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying it's always been a focus to make sure you've got the efficiency of communication. I mean, that's key for us with a network of clubs. It's how do you get the message out effectively and in a way that's translated with minimal amounts of errors or misunderstandings. And, using the tools that are available now, it's been really helpful.
Thank you so much for sharing. Sean, you've always placed employee well-being and basically at the core of True Fitness model. What is exactly your take on this?
Well, I think like Christian says, this hasn't been something very new. I think for most operators, it's something that's always been in the pipeline. For us, it's not as if COVID has accelerated this. It was always in play. But we've seen a lot of more engagement of our employees online, especially during the lockdown period. We couldn't directly speak to members, although we were pushing out a lot of digital stuff so that they could access, but we could engage with our employees through Zoom, through Teams, through the different platforms. And from there, you sort of direct them and to start participating. So, our employees were the first people to try out all our online classes, the stuff that we were doing, and they were critiquing our quality, our sound, the engagement, and that's how we started tweaking it. So they're very much part of that whole trial and that whole ecosystem in pushing things out to the members. It has to work for us internally first as employees, as a team, And when we're convinced that it's something that's good, that will benefit the members, and then we churn it out. So they're very engaged in that sense as well.
That's very good to hear. Thank you so much, Sean. I think we've come to the last question. Again, apologies, guys. I know there's a lot of questions. Yes, Francesco.
Can I just say one quick comment related to the topic? Because the staff is a core element. We talk about digital transformation. 90% of the time we spend it on talking about digital, 10% of talking about transformation. So just a few things that we learned from our experience. One same product, completely different outcome. Great success from one side, poor success from another side. Still the same product. What is the difference in the recipe? And what we have seen is that one of the worst ways to introduce a product is, hey, digital is important. This is my wellness cloud, and from now on, let's use it. This you can be sure that won't work. Other scenario is we have a vision, we have a journey that we want to implement. I invite all the people around the table. I let them feel part of this incredible experience of change from the very beginning. It's not about the feature, it's not about the technology, it's about the way we satisfy our customers. And then you get the staff aboard, and then you get happiness around the product that is starting. So just wanted to share this because this has been something that we have been experiencing so much dealing with customers that I think sometimes we tend to overrate the discussion on digital and we never focus enough on the word transformation.
Yeah, totally.
You raised a very good point. Thank you so much, Francesco, for sharing this. It really made a lot of sense. I think we come to our last question, which is my golden question, I believe, and it's my favorite question as well. How much content is too much content? And where will we see continued innovation through 2020? So we can go with Fahad first. And Fahad, I would really, everybody, I would really appreciate it if you could wrap it up in a good 3 to 4 sentences.
No problem. I mean, content needs to be organized and when delivered online, since it can't get messy if it went out of control. Operators need to be pragmatic about it and don't try to offer too much. Otherwise, you will dilute your offering and you will end up competing with them in different competitive edge. So, competitive landscape. The more you offer, the more people you end up competing with. I'll just mention a quick example about Calm, the mindfulness app. They had 2 new users every second of every day of 2019. And you can't compete with that. Think about what matters to your members, what potentially will help you to gain new members and focus on that totally. And to answer the part about the innovations, I think the digital transformation will have the biggest share in 2020, 2021 as well.
Thank you so much, Fahad. Let's move on to Daniel.
Yeah, look, I think that it's got to be relevant. You can have as much as you want as long as it's relevant. And so if you've got a system in place that personalizes the content that's served to me, you can have as much as you like. But yeah, I think from an operator perspective, to Fahad's point, it's got to be relevant to your members. So understanding who your members are and creating as much content as you can for those members. I think personally, that's where a lot of the innovation will come as far as this digital transformation. It's that personalization at scale, making sure that we get all of this great information and content out there and make sure we're getting it in front of our members and users at the end of the day, whether it's nutrition, body analysis, regardless of the topic. I think it's serving it and the timing that we serve it with.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Let's move on to Francesco. Any final words, Francesco? How much content is too much content?
Is a risk that, of course, we end up in an hyper-proliferation of content where everyone is a creator. There's no doubt around it. The way we see it is that what will make the difference is, from one side, the quality of the content, that everyone said. But I completely agree with what Sean was saying about, for example, the live platform. This is a content that is not necessarily of high quality. So, why is generating an experience? or for the sun. I mean, we can find a better option. But what makes the real experience is the fact that I can still join that class with my favorite trainer, with the same classmate that I was typically doing it, and I can do it wherever I am. That is the experience, and the experience is coming actually from the community. So we don't have to forget that there's going to be quality of content, profession of the studio, the music, but we are not, I don't think we are doomed to become Hollywood studios producing incredible content. I think we also have to remind that people are a very important component. So community content will be also king. One final thing is I don't think we have to forget the on-site, because today we are talking about how the digital is helping us to go beyond the four walls. We have to talk also about how we can take the digital inside the four walls. So, in my opinion, we can have all the most fabulous and fancy content, but still, is that body analysis that I'm doing in my app? Is that the training program that is coming from my trainer in the app? Is the workout that I've just done on this treadmill in the app? I mean, all of this, in our opinion, will be a crucial element to avoid the content-driven only industry, but also go on reminding that what makes us unique is the fact that there are people, competencies, places, and this is where we have to build all together without, let's say, getting too anxious of having tons and tons of content. So in other words, not about having so many dots, it's about having the right dots of the right quality, but more especially being able to connect all of them in a meaningful experience.
Definitely. Amen to that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Francesco. Christian and Sean, I'll give you guys 1 to 2 minutes to basically wrap it up. So how much content is too much content? Christian, maybe you can go first.
Well, I think the internet's taught us one thing, that there's no such thing as too much content. I think the point of it is whether it's actually relevant and it's factual versus opinion. So I think to echo what everyone else has already said, it's about the personalization, relevance, and the impact. And what I always come back to is what are we in this industry to do? What have we been trying to do since we began, is to help members live longer, move well when they get there, improve quality of life. And digital has to become that strategic element to do that, because in the physical sense, the industry globally has challenges on people staying and becoming adherent to exercise. So the digital intervention allows us to do that, whether it's to get you back on track when you've fallen off your exercise habits, or as Daniel quite rightly pointed out, you normally do a 6 o'clock yoga, you haven't made it today because your job's got in the way, so we served up some content to deliver that to you, which builds the loyalty that says you care about us, you care about me, therefore, I'll stick with you, and it builds that loyalty that, delivers the results for the business in the long term.
Thank you so much, Christian. Final words, Sean?
Well, the one thing that we have is members. And what are members? They've joined us. They're paying money to use our services, our facilities. They are putting their hand in ours. Now, they are trusting us. And actually, we are best placed to guide them along through the jungle of content out there. So we actually have a say. We can be the curator of that content. So we can determine what they are to see, and you can use your website, you can use your app, you can use things that you can push the content to them. We don't necessarily have to sit back and allow them to explore that jungle and that whole sea by themselves. Why don't we take it to them, push it to them, be proactive and not passive? I mean, I will end by just saying this. Most of us, maybe Daniel accepted, right? Most of us started off with the bricks and mortar business. Right? That's where our heart and soul of the business is. Technology, whilst it is front and center about, in our lives, in our business today because of COVID, we have to remember that technology is an enabler. It's not the be all and end all. And we have to be clever in the way that we look and we curate what we want to use, and we best employ what we think is good for our businesses, for our members. That's it.
Thank you so much, Sean, for wrapping it up. Thank you, Kristen, Daniel, Sean, Francesco, Fahad, for this amazing panel. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in and staying throughout the session. I really, really appreciate it. Till we see you guys in the next panel, stay safe, take care. Right after this session, we're basically having a closing keynote by Colin, and as well as we'll also be having a fun industry quiz that I am hosting. So obviously it's a shout out for myself. So please go to the sessions at the Fitness Hangout. If you're brain freeze from so much of content, I'll be hosting a very, very fun industry quiz. So yep, just hop on there. But thank you so much, guys. I had a really good time hosting you all. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.